Okay, so guys, welcome to the first INSPO online. It will be Yoga Pino INSPO done in a bit of a different way, but tonight we were lucky enough to have our special guest, Fin-McKenna Fox, share us some insights and his expertise and the wisdom that he's picked up over the last few years in cold training, and particularly how that relates to mental resilience. I've been lucky enough to actually have been under care and looked after and trained alongside, and a close friend for Finn now for about 2.5 years, perhaps. We met each other in the early days, way back at a CrossFit gym in West Perth, I think, first. At Inner City, what's it called?
Inner City, yeah.
At Inner City.
CrossFit.
And he was based there as the kind of like go-to manual therapist, the go-to physio. And you kind of looked at him in the back in the sidelines, and it was this guy that it was no different. It was very different to any other physiotherapist that you would kind of see, even though that he's like a movement therapist, lifestyle coach, and he's got this huge bag of tricks underneath you. But he'd be stomping around the gym. He'd be barefoot, dreadies out, singlet. And I was like, man, this guy knows his role. He knows his place, and he's kind of presenting in full like authenticity around his craft and everything that he picked up along the way. So since then, I've kind of just seen how Finn's kind of really grown through that. And I feel really honoured to be able to bring Finn on tonight as a connection, and really, I think his journey's been really insightful. And I think even the past, we haven't been able to touch base quite in the last kind of 6 to 12 months, but even his journey in this last period of time is that I'm really interested in. So we might have to get Finn back for another insight back into all of his, brotherhood workings that he's been going through with another friend of mine, Tim. So can't wait to hear all about that. But without further ado, we've got the master himself, Finn, in here. So introduce yourself, mate. Good to have you here.
Hi, thanks, Matt. I appreciate you for having me on here. Like, it's really exciting to be able to share some of my magic with your tribe. And yeah, like as you said, it's been one hell of a journey over the last decade or so. For myself, I started off as a sports physio back in Ireland. I was working there with a lot more like high level sports athletes as well as the general population before moving over to Australia at about 8 years ago. And it was when I moved to Australia, like I started kind of being pulled down a lot more of a holistic route rather than going down the sports route. And it's basically fast forward over the last 8 years, been on a deep dive of kind of connecting deeper with myself, understanding myself better, looking at all of these other tools that we get to use to help bring us back to having that really core understanding of ourselves and how that can be grounded in everything else that we do, and being able to bring that with clients through movement, through lifestyle coaching, just through opening up their awareness of the power that we hold within ourselves. Like, it's been absolutely huge. Like, it's always been a big thing for me as a therapist. It's like when clients come to see me, is like they don't come to get fixed by me. They just come for guidance, and then I teach them how to fix themselves. If that's through movement, if that's through breath, no matter what it is. And like, that's what I love about yourself, Matt. It's like a very similar philosophy. It's like, you don't just come to get fixed. It's like we're empowering you to how to look after your own body, and that's been a massive catalyst for myself, and a massive area that I put a lot of attention and focus into.
Fantastic.
And
really exciting. And what now more than ever do we require some support and some community and some guidance, essentially, about how we navigate ourselves through this path of uncertainty. And for some, I remember being challenged. I went through a workshop for one weekend, and most of the weekend it was all around never being told the plan, never being told the agenda of what is going to happen over the day. And that really rattled people. That really was that really disrupted, in that they didn't have an idea of what was ahead of them, because it created stress, it created uncertainty, it created desire, and that ability to let go of the plan. So that is more important today than ever, right? We are absolutely wide. We're rattled. We don't know what to do next. It's been a rocky kind of, I can say, 72 hours it's going to rock you 2 months,
Yeah.
it's going to rock you 3 months, and it's the road ahead is only going to be longer. So
Mhm.
I think importantly, and I think even coincidentally, is that teeing up what we have teed up tonight, to focus on a few strategies of which we can align ourselves to then create some, like, one thing that we have control over. It's like in the army, it's just like the one thing that you have control over is making your bed.
Yeah.
Now we're going to extend that out of something that you can have control over. So, and part of that being kind of cold training. So take us through what got you into cold training and how you got first exposed to it, and how you've learned the steps along the way, and how you're starting to teach it.
Yeah, like, so it's been an interesting one. It's one that just kind of always intrigued me. Like, I just remember like seeing it, just like, even like when I was back home in Ireland, like I always liked something special about the cold. Like in the middle of winter, like parents used to think it was mad because I'd be walking around in a pair of shorts and a hoodie. And I was like, but it was always like one of the things. Like I like that part of, it's kind of like being slightly uncomfortable when, like, you know that you can be super comfortable. And like the more I've kind of like learned into this, like taking that stoic philosophy, is like in today's society, like we are just covered in comfort. Like no one gets outside of the comfort zone. Like we have aircon whenever it's too hot. Like we've got like fires, we've got central heat, and we've got all of these things whenever it's too cold. Like we don't let ourselves to get to that point of being a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that like I've just always embraced, like over the years, is like just like, yeah, feeling okay. Is like, it's actually nice being a little bit uncomfortable. Like it don't have to be like rubbed up all the time to experience that. And I guess for me, it was just always that little bit of a mental resilience that I was building with it. And then that just kind of grew and grew to more, like whenever I started kind of seeing a bit more coming out about like the importance of like the ice baths, and doing a workshop back about three years ago. And that was like kind of like Wim Hof inspired. We were doing like a lot of different breath work and then going into the ice. And like as soon as I'd done that, it was like, this is it. This is awesome. Like I absolutely loved it, because as soon as you get into the ice, like it just gets you, it takes away all the noise.
Yeah.
It's like it just takes away any noise, because you have to go inwards and you have to connect with yourself to find
Yeah.
that center in yourself, to allow yourself to deal with what was happening in the ice. And like the first time I did it, like I didn't really understand that. I just knew the feeling that I had after it, and I was like, I need to do more of this. So after that, like I just started like looking for any chance or any opportunity that I could start getting into the ice more. Um, and like this was in a time back a few years ago when I was like dealing with a lot of like stress and anxiety. And it was my saving grace in the middle of them times, because like I was building the resilience to help kind of bring myself back in, because I was choosing to put myself in a stressful environment, in this stressful situation. So then I knew I had to learn how to deal with that stress and deal with everything that was coming up while I was in the ice. But then that would help me in my day-to-day stuff when I didn't have control over things that were popping me off and pinging me into stressful or anxiety. But
Yeah.
because I was able to like build that resilience up in the ice and build that connection up with my breath practice,
Yeah.
like whenever in the day-to-day stuff, I was starting to get more of a hold of that as well, and like seeing
Sure.
such a beautiful symbiosis between the two of them. And I guess the more I kind of followed that journey and started using it a lot more for that, and for that mental resilience, for that connection, deeper connection with myself, and bringing that sacredness into the ice, like it's that just kind of keeps building from there. And like as in
Yeah.
guiding people through that breath work, and like using the breath work to connect in and feel that power that we hold within ourselves. It's not, you don't need anything around you. It's just coming in and connecting to yourself, and it's just using something in your power to
Yeah.
bring you to these heightened states and bringing this heightened energy to you. And then when you bring that to approach the ice, bringing that sacredness to allow yourself to actually like surrender to it rather than fight. It's such a beautiful process. But yeah, like, and when getting people into the water and into the cold waters, like it's doing something that is really uncomfortable and doing something that we don't want to do, but we're making a conscious choice to do it, and we're making a conscious choice of how we actually respond in that situation. And like it's so powerful.
So it's like it's really taken off, right? Like, I mean, Wim Hof's been around forever. His method and his cold training and his, let's say, his message, right? And it's
Yeah.
really just picked up, I feel, strongly in the last, I think if you're ahead of the game 12 to 18 months ago, but let's say getting more trend as a bit of an exposure, more is commercial, more popular, it's probably the right word, more popular more recently. So, I think the whole ice training in the ice baths is that's the pinnacle, that's the peak of it really.
Yeah.
But it's even shown from, I guess, and this is the small start of the research process for myself in regards to it, is it can it just start out from like cold showers?
Oh, and that's, like it's starting gently and easing yourself into it, is like it's starting off with a cold shower, like just like that in itself, like you're getting into the water and like having that and then challenges, like, right, I want to put the shower on for cold for the last 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And like everything in your body is like, do I actually want to do that?
Yeah.
But then making that decision, like, let's just get uncomfortable for that 15 seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like, I have never been one that was been good with the cold, right?
Yeah.
I'm a light man. I've been a light kid, a light boy, like my whole life. You know, whenever I was kind of exposed to a prolonged cold, whether it be down at the beach or in a swimming pool or anything like that, I would check in, cash out, like whatever I needed to do to remove myself from that really uncomfortable scenario really quickly. So mentally, and I remember this kind of being a conversation that even come up with, like, listening to Wim Hof stuff, is that like I developed a stressful relationship with the cold as a result, right? Because I knew that it's been uncomfortable for such a long time. So I guess my question is now to the rest of the group is like, what's your current relationship with the cold? Like, have you tried cold showers before? How would you be if you just did it tonight, right now, right off the bat? Like, is this something that stresses you out just thinking about it? Or is this something that you in your mind go, oh, I want to jump in, give it a go, jump on?
So I think, like, from a female, or not to be sexist or whatever, but I always kind of grew up, my mum always said to me that, you know, like cleansing your face, whatever, you must always put cold water on afterwards, close the pores, etc. And then that's always the same with the shower. I would always end a shower with cold water for a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, just to kind of close off all the pores. You feel good, build immune system, whatever. So I've kind of always done that.
Wow, that's really interesting. Like, I haven't heard any. Yeah, that's cool. That's great. I think that's I haven't heard that practice been done from without this method, without this understanding of direction first. I mean, rather than it being just like a mother's tale that's been passed from one to another. That's crazy. That's good. Well done.
Yeah, my family does it actually. We all do it. We have a hot shower and then we turn it cold at the end, and then just
that's normal. That's your normal.
Yeah.
Great.
And I've always laughed at her until I started hearing about the ice method. So there you go. I find it's different if I don't get myself into a headspace for it. I've been actively trying it since Matt suggested it a while ago. One thing to have a cold shower and a whole nother level for an ice bath, I'm sure. But even just a relatively cold shower and going down to that, if I'm not mentally prepared to really try to push into it, it's amazing how much less you can tolerate it before you start going, no, I want out. But if you really do put yourself in that headspace and do the breathing like suggested, then it's actually quite amazing. It actually doesn't feel cold after a fairly short amount of time, and it really does help reset the system a bit. So I've been finding it really interesting.
Yeah. And that's it, like, it's getting into that mind space. So it's like, it's just challenging you to like up that, and like the days where you feel like I don't want to do this are probably the days you need to do it more. So
yeah, good point. Yeah. Very good point.
Yeah. And for me, I've only just really started to do it over summer. So I've been reasonably consistent, maybe the odd day here and there that I've missed, but reasonably consistent. But I'm almost looking forward to winter of going, all right, let's get cold. Let's see if we can get colder. Because at the moment, I just hasn't been.
The perfect cold shower.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be a wake-up call come, June, July, and it's going to be 6 o'clock in the morning and you've just woken up and you're like, that's the that's where your mental head's going to kind of like really shape into kind of like what's important right now.
Yeah. Sure.
Hey, can I just ask a quick question, or is that kind of, shall I leave questions to the end?
No, that question might be important for now. Go for it.
Look, it might sound a bit vain, but whatever, I'm going to own it. So, I mean, so like obviously me, you know, having a shower, then cold water at the end, you know, it's kind of like a, you know, closing the pores, beauty thing, kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But like in terms of like ice baths or that kind of level of coldness, is there actually like, you know, for your skin, for like a beauty, like aesthetic kind of stuff, like benefits to it?
Like if you think of like the circulation benefits of it straight off the bat, it's going to be really good for your skin. It's going to be really good for your whole circulation through your whole system. Like getting into the cold water, like it's like some of the science behind it, like it's going to help reduce any inflammation that's in your body. And being in the cold, and it's going to help boost up like your white blood cells and like your B lymphocytes and stuff, which helps like fight off any infections or any microorganisms that are in your body. So like there's going to be so many of these different health benefits. And then for the aesthetics wise, it's like what is it, 2 minutes in cold water is the equivalent in like an ice bath. That's like at about 4 degrees is about the same as 40 minutes workout.
Oh wow.
Okay, you've sold it to me.
Yeah. Right.
Just jump in, spend a couple of minutes in the water, and that's going to give you the equivalent of like your body working to the same as what it was for 40 minutes.
Wow.
Right, and that's like that's the metabolic load that it has on it. Crazy.
And that's how with the likes of the Iceman and stuff, like he ran marathons without really training running.
Yeah,
because he was doing that. Like his system was so efficient. It's like one of my other friends, like she's from the UK. She's a Wim Hof like level 3 instructor, and like comes to Perth and does like Wim Hof like workshops in Perth. But like she done a marathon without ever running, and then like about a month after that, she done like a 50 mile ultra without really training, just doing breath work and ice baths.
Amazing.
Wow.
That is unreal. Yeah, when you see it correlate when you see it translate from one modality into something completely different, which is stressing the body in a very different way, but the underlying principle that it's stress, right? It's just like stressing the body physically, stressing the body emotionally, stressing stress, right? It's just all encompassing, and it's been able to kind of control and modulate and you know, better integrate the stressor that's upon you. Yeah. So, I mean, we've discussed a few of those benefits there, right? So now more than ever, absolutely, now more than ever. So, I mean, I was kind of like writing this, and I broke it down into probably what would be like 3 reasons why cold training would change your life, right? And I'm sure Finn could elaborate a little bit more on these 3 reasons. I haven't told him about this as a side text, but I'm sure you'll appreciate it. So one, and it's like it's body, mind, and the ritual, right? So these 3 reasons, right? So one, like what we've just sort of said, which is the real scientific kind of part of it, like you said, is like the whole immersion into the cold is the shift and change of the vascular system, right? Right, forcing all the blood back to your organs, and that has two really let's say clever beneficial processes to it. One is that you do get the contraction of the blood vessels, so all those muscles are working, and that's what like that we sort of talked about it. The metabolic load is like you're now working a vascular system, like all those muscles are starting to contract down, and they've been weak, and getting more power to them is better. And you're sending all that blood to those vital sensors, those internal organs, which when they've got more blood, they can heal and they can recover and they can respond and they can do all the things that they're supposed to do to recharge, repair, and heal and adapt. So 2 monster benefits there, and to sort of see that unfold in regards to our blood chemistry with, you know, better immune system and stuff like that. It just the impact is, the ripple effect of it is just huge. But the bigger part of it was when I talked about it was the mind and like stress and stress resilience and anxiety. So like, so dive into what you sort of seen there, and you've maybe covered a little bit already there, but and I'll make sure I'm watching the time here too, guys. But how have you seen it have an impact or create changes in stress resilience in either yourself or the clients that you've worked and taken them through immersions with?
Yeah, so with the stress resilience, it's like when you're getting into the cold, the first thing people want to do is tense up and try to fight it.
Yeah.
Like straight away, like if you put on a cold shower, guaranteed, like your first response is shoulders up towards your ears, clenching your jaw, and you're just like holding, trying to brace it and fight it, and just hyperventing, nearly trying to just breathe through at 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like with that, like that's like a stress response to the cold. Then if I went and like brought that to the next level and put you into an ice bath, like that's where you're going to go. It's not going to be an enjoyable experience at all.
Yeah. Sometimes
so
like you can actually feel that as like some serious pain. Right? Ice
because you're fighting.
Painful.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, it's like if you're doing that, like if you're like clenching up and you're holding yourself up, like that's where you're in a straight away into like a stress response to it, and you're trying to fight and resist it.
Yeah.
So with that, like you're not actually present in your body. You're not allowing your body to actually drop in and connect with your breath. You're not connecting with that internal power that you have within. So then like a lot of, like that's where like a lot of ones when they're doing it, like you're not getting the full benefit of it. Like they're mentally just trying to force themselves through it. But that's only going to last through a certain amount of time. It's not until like you learn to let go and surrender, like that's where the magic happens. And it's like, it's when we get people into the actual ice bath, it's like you're using the breath work, we're using movement, we're using the breath work, we're using movement to get them prepped. But then once we actually get into the water, it's like it might take anything from 30 seconds to 90 seconds for them to actually drop in and get into a relaxed state. And then after that, that's where in their bliss point after that. But if you're in that point where you're still clenching, you're still holding that tension through your jaw, like you can see it, like you'll start seeing like the lips will start going purple because you're clenching, so you're not actually allowing the blood to flow everywhere. You're like holding everything in, and that's where it's going to hurt a lot more, and that's where it's going to be a lot more uncomfortable. Whereas the more you just relax and let your body just drop in, feeling that strength within, feeling that power within, and like allowing yourself to like just surrender to that, like that's where you're getting all of that magic from the mental side of it. As well as that's going to allow you to get a lot more of the health benefits because your body's in a relaxed state, so it's going to be able to receive everything that's happening as well.
So it's more than just kind of being in the cold and fighting through the response itself, because you could do that and you could get some benefit from just being cold. Would that be right? You could just,
like you'd get some benefit. You'd see, like that would have been like the old way of doing the ice bath before it was kind of like brought into this. Like so many like footy players and stuff. It's like, you jump into like the wheelie bin full of ice, and you see them all just there like holding. Like that's just getting.
And they just muscle and grind their way through it.
Like it's just going to get the physiological benefits of being in the ice and having that like vascular constriction, and you're going to have some, like the immune benefits and stuff like that as well. But you're not going to get the mental benefits of it as much because you're fighting it. You're like, so what else in your life are you trying to fight when you're in a stressful situation? Are you still in that sympathetic nervous system response and that fighting response, or are you actually allowing yourself to drop in and relax and being able to see what it is that you need to do to work through that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, big. Because I've been telling that to a few of my clients, and when they've started the cold shower experience, they just turned on to cold. And we're probably going to go through the how a little bit more in more depth now when it comes to the breath work, in order to kind of channel in a more appropriate, relaxed response when the stimulus or the change is made. But they would do exactly that. They would just fight through it, and then eventually the body slowly adapts over time. But they've had 15 to 30 seconds of probably like what if they've expressed as a stress response, and then like and then they make it through a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and then they finish. And I think over time you become familiar with that response, therefore your stress comes down, but you actually haven't learnt the mental resilience and trained yourself to do that in that process. Would that be right?
It's basically training the opposite. It's training to try to fight through your stress.
Yes.
If you hold on and keep fighting, like you'll eventually come out the other side and you'll be okay. Whereas if you kind of catch yourself and it's like, right, do I want to just drop in? It's like, I've got this from within and surrender to that. That's where the magic lies in it.
So the breath work. So as the how-to, you know, how do we put this into practice? How do we better drop in? How do we prepare for ourselves? Is it best like to, you know, have a shower, whether it be hot, and prepare and, you know, kind of do what you need to do in regards to kind of, you know, personal hygiene, and washing yourself down? Is there a step prior to doing what you need to do, then just turning it on to cold? Or
like, it's like everyone's slightly different with it. It's like people feel like the Wim Hof method, because it's the most popular one that has just been blown up everywhere. People think it's like, right, this is the Wim Hof method, but a lot of people are actually doing it wrong.
okay,
It's like what you think the Wim Hof method is. If you went over and met Wim Hof and done a workshop, that's not going to be what he guides you through.
right.
That's what he has basically condensed his method down to, as simple and straightforward for the masses to be able to understand.
Right.
But then the practical application and how he actually applies it is always slightly different.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing where like there's a missing link with that, is like where like people think it's this thing, but like then there is a slight difference in it. So it's allowing yourself to explore and figure out, understand the basics of it, and then finding what works for you around that. So like with the Wim Hof method, he does is always like sticks with that like 30 breaths, and then at the end of the 30 breaths, like you do a big inhale and then you do an exhale and then you hold. And then with that first hold, you might hold for 30 seconds, then you take a big inhale and have a 15-second hold, and then you go again, and he does the 3 rounds of that. But then as you go through the Wim Hof method, that's basically like baseline introduction. This is learning the basics of it, but then there's like lots of other levels you can do with it. You can do the holds at different times, you can do the breath for different times, and you can, like, it's lots of different ways to change it up. But it's what people think the basics of up there, like what the Wim Hof method is, just a very staple, easy to teach aspect of that.
Yeah.
Whereas like even like just the guy, like there's like his brother Marcel Hoff has the Marcel Hoff method.
Right.
And like it's the two of them, like we're like there's like Wim and his 2 or 3 brothers were doing this all together for fucking years on their own, going through it all. And it wasn't until like Wim's children got to an age to kind of see, he's like, all right, that is pretty cool, he's done some like ridiculous things, there's a market for this here. And there it was Wim's children that actually put the business side of it in. Like, because if you listen to Wim, like there's not a hope that he could actually like run a business. He's just too wacky and out there. But like, it was his kids that actually like created the Wim Hof method and allowed him to actually work through that. But his brother Marcel, like the way he teaches the breath work, he does it different. Like it's the same, like the big inhale, like the outhale, but he does it for a time thing rather than like 30 breaths. You might be breathing for like 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes. And I could do different speeds of breath and stuff like that as well. But like, so just understanding like with it, like there's different ways to do it, but like finding what works for you. So like the easiest way to go through it is I'll just kind of guide you through like a simple version of it.
Yeah.
And then it
So
can answer any.
Yeah. What's that simple version of how we could sort of start to apply that to our? So is that me? It sounds like it might be Phil. I'm just going to mute Phil. Just a simple method that we can apply to our cold training, and then eventually, one day jumping in an ice bath.
Yeah. So basically the easiest way, like to kind of start off the basics with it when we're working with that inhale and exhale, is like it doesn't have to be inhale through your mouth. So you can breathe through your nose if you feel that's more comfortable.
Yeah.
But basically with that, you want to take a nice big long inhale where you're taking that breath in. Feel that breath coming into your tummy, then into your ribs, like then tummy, then into your chest, and then working up. And then as you're breathing out, you're coming back down. So it's like a wave effect. So it's like breathe, big breath in. So it's like that big.
Right.
So like with that big inhale, it's like tummy, chest, and then let that drop out.
Yeah.
With the inhale, it's literally suck as much of that air in. It's like. Then with the exhale, you literally just let it go. Like you're not trying to breathe out, you just let it go, and then in and let it go. So it's that continuous. So I'll just do 5 of them just for you to kind of see, and then get you each to work through it as well.
Okay.
So like that would be like a general kind of role of that. Like if you could see the full depth of my body, you would see my tummy's coming out and then my chest.
Yes.
And then my chest,
Yeah.
and then tummy chest. So it's that wave up, wave down, wave up, wave down. And
Sure.
you just go for that continual cycle. And then if you want to do the Wim Hof style, you count that for 30 breaths of that. And then at the end, at the last breath, you take a big breath in. And then as you breathe it out, you breathe out 70%, and then you hold. So as you work on that exhale, you breathe out like most of that air, and then you just hold with that exhale. And as you're holding, that's when you'll feel all the tingles going through your body. You'll feel that energy cycle through your body.
Because I remember him saying something about like you're holding a bit more carbon dioxide. Is that right? And that's what creates the vasodilation. Did I remember hearing that correctly? Am I being a bit too heady on this?
Basically, you're like hyperoxygenating your body. So it's like because you're taking such big inhales and small exhales, like you're just like literally like flooding your whole system with oxygen.
With oxygen, yeah.
And that's where like as you're working through there, like especially towards the second or third round, like you can feel like when you're in that breath hold, that you can literally feel your body's just pulsating. And like when I guide people through that, as like that is where you're in your power, because like that's what Wim says, get high in your own supply.
Yeah,
so like when if something's going on, if you have certain injuries or anything going on in your body, like you can just have that intention of like, right, I'm in that breath hold. Where do I want to send this energy? Where do I want to send this blood flow to it? Yeah. And like guys, with that just plain intent, you can start directing that to different parts of your body. Like in the middle of summer, whenever there was hay fever, like allergens and stuff going around, I was having loads of sinus issues, and whenever I would do it, it would literally feel here would just be pulsating, like literally pulsating. And then like once you come out of it, like I feel amazing, everything would clear up because it was just sending so much oxygen to help clear off any inflammation and stuff.
Yeah. Okay, well that's nice. So you'd go through, 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 breaths like that, because that's a bit.
So like you can go through, like if when I'm doing it myself, I just go for a timed one. So I might do that for like 3 or 4 minutes, just continuous. And then at the end of the 4 minutes, then I just take that bit breath in and then breathe out and then go for a breath hold. And then with that breath hold, like if you want, you can hold that breath hold for a minute and then just go back around again.
Get back to it. Yeah.
If you want to do just the pure Wim Hof method, I would recommend YouTube Wim Hof method guided breath work. He actually has a video where he talks through like breathe in and out, and I guess it's literally a timed video that you can watch just to kind of work through his. Because I find like if you're trying to do it on your own, where you're counting your breaths, you're in your head counting your breaths, so you're not going to be in your body as much. And that was the thing that I struggled with the most. Yeah. So that's why I prefer to kind of just go for a continuous, not worrying how many breaths I have, or if there is that guided one from YouTube, like that's ones I'd recommend as well.
Awesome. Lots of resources there. Well, maybe I'll attach a few of those to the link, or when I'll put this up on the page, and may even be like, classy as just like, now you can find all the information in the show notes. I can say something classy like that.
Yeah. Any questions on that, guys?
Yeah. So what about Kevin?
Sorry, I had my audio muted. Yeah, no, definitely very some insightful information there. I actually have been working with Fin on a regular basis and have seen the benefits from the ice baths and all the breathwork practices that he does, from feeling it in the body and to settle in the mindset. So for me personally, it's been a great advantage to my daily practice, and been a great life tool now for me.
Perfect. Yeah, look, I think that's just, it's definitely insightful to kind of get a bit more clarity. Just, I think for me around like the breath work and preparation of it, knowing that you kind of want to put a few of those practices into play. And then, being able to kind of prepare appropriately for the given stressor, because I know that breathwork preparation is going to come in as the gold or the pre-season training, which is going to be helpful come winter, and that's where the mental resilience is really going to have to step up a little bit. So you want to have that foundation at play.
I could touch on a little bit about like the how to as well. Like it's like once, like if it is the matter of like you want to do like 3 rounds of the breath work and then go in for your shower and stuff like that, like there's a few things to kind of like be aware of. Is like when you're doing the breath work, you can do it either like sitting upright with your back away from the chair, or else you can do it lying down.
Right.
Whatever you feel most comfortable doing. But it's like when you finish the breath work, it's like you don't hop straight up and go to your shower. Like literally give yourself a minute or two to kind of just ground yourself and just come back and be present in your body. Like if you're lying down, sit upright for a little bit, just because like you've changed a hell of a lot of physiology in your body in a short bit of time. If you hop up, you can get a bit lightheaded. You can just like lose sense a little bit. So like give yourself that bit of time and space. And like it's always like when you're moving from the breath work into the ice, again, a lot of people think you need to go from like one straight into the other. Give yourself time. So if it's the matter of like you do the breath work, give yourself that minute or two just at the end, just to kind of be in that, and then slowly bringing yourself back up. And then if it is like have a little walk around and just move your body for a bit, and then you can go into the shower. And then just when you're in the shower, like it's just slowing yourself down. If it's a matter of like, right, just gonna like just nip it in the bud and jump in straight away for the cold shower. Have your cold shower, and then if you want to finish off with a warmer shower, do your bits. Or if you want to just stay cold for the whole thing, it's fine, and what works for you.
I actually I think that's another little change up from my habits too, because I've been doing my breath work and pretty much going straight from one to the other. So I'll give it a go, just giving a bit of a chance for my body just to integrate that information a bit better.
And then like it's when you're in the cold, it's all about relaxing as much as you can in the cold. Like when you're in the cold, like you're not trying to do that breathing when you're in the cold. It's all about slowing your breath down and allowing yourself to feel it. And like literally just challenge yourself to feel it and just be there and just like slow your breath down, bringing that down, feeling your heart rate drop, and just allowing yourself to be like, all right, this is it. This is the bliss of it.
So good. So good. So, I mean, I think definitely for myself, I had so many questions answered tonight, and I'm sure yourselves, that's been, surely beneficial having Fin on. Just in regards to kind of the takeaways, I feel for us, not only kind of putting this into play, but I feel, and as much as Fin, we've just scratched the tip of the iceberg. Am I right? Yeah.
The biggest thing is you need to just experience.
We need to do it. We need to experience it, right? So
you can talk about it and read about it all day, but actually experiencing it and feeling it, and you're like, this is what it is.
This is what it is. So, I think this is good because I want to plant the seed, and I was chatting to Fin with this prior, was that like I'd actually already had planned for a couple of months down the track, so kind of like mid-year or beyond, is sorting up a bit of a challenge month, and part of that being around a group of people who want to get involved and commit to maybe like 30 days cold showers, then finish off with a big ice bath immersion, which Fin will get amongst. So if that's something that interests you and you've listened to this recording and you've gone, okay, I want to get around this, then keep your ear to the ground, because I want to bring something forward in the coming months. Hopefully by then we're allowed to stand a little bit closer to each other to experience this immersion, because I think it would be really fun. But I think between now and then it'd be good practice. Everyone's trapped at home. Everyone's doing their own thing, and I think just having a bit of play in regards to breath work and having the cold shower and feeling amazing is that I think people deserve to feel some amazing, or feel the difference, or feel the shake up, or quieten the mind, and those little things kind of matter. So put that into practice. You can kind of start all this as of tomorrow, and I'm sure I've kind of connected Fin to both of our groups, both the Wild Success Tribe and our Yoga Pina INSPO Facebook groups. I'm sure if you have any questions for Fin, you can reach out to him. Please do connect with him. He has, and I'm not too sure how scheduled this is for you at the moment, but you have one of your cold connection immersions coming up the end of April. I imagine that, does it have a question mark over it at the moment?
Everything's been paused while we just wait and see what happens. But,
so that's how it happens. But look out to it. I'm follow Fin. So he runs these immersions. where you can go through and a little experience, take you through a few hours, take you through the breath work, teach you the things you need to do, and he'll have all the ice baths available for us as a group or a team or you and a friend to experience it. So look out for that. Any closing passing words of wisdom there, Finn?
No, just put it into practice. The big thing is the more you do it, just embrace the colds and just allow yourself to actually surrender and just feel the bliss of it. There's a lot of lessons to learn from it. Amazing.
Well, thanks again for tonight. Does anyone have any passing last questions before we head off?
How long have you been doing it for, Finn?
It's been a few years now. Yeah, try to get in at least once a week, or if I can. I was lucky enough, the gym where I was working in, they had an ice bath in the facility, so we were able to connect it up and hop in pretty regularly. But that's kind of had the plug pulled for now. So I'm gonna just have to see if we can get some ice for the bath at home.
No, well, yeah. Well, thanks so much for sharing tonight. It's been really insightful, really inspiring stuff, mate. So thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Very good. Well, I think that's all. I think we can all get back to our families now. And but thanks for coming on, mate. That's been really great, and look forward to maybe catching up again. We'll bring you back, and we'll take you through a bit of a run of the real thing.
Yeah, for sure, man. Pleasure.
Thanks very much,
Good
guys.
to have you all, guys. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.